Hey, it's Aaron, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the storms that are happening in Texas. So without any further ado, let's jump into it. Okay, so over the past couple of days, Texas and a lot of the United States has been facing severe winter storms. Most of Texas and a lot of the South has been blanketed in a thick covering of snow. They've faced negative temperatures, which is very rare for a place so close to the equator. And it's been wreaking havoc on so many people. Currently, as of yesterday, there is over 700,000 people suffering without any electricity. So obviously, it's a huge, huge problem. Texas and most places that are that close to the equator are just not prepared to handle winter events. They're not prepared to handle a lot of snow, and none of the infrastructure is ready to handle anything close to the temperatures that they were facing. There was massive electrical shortages, like I was saying, blackouts all across the entire place, and just infrastructure falling apart. I've seen many roofs caved in, entire rooms filling with ice hanging from the fan, like from the ceiling fans and such inside of people's houses. Just unbelievable stuff that you never see. It was a very, very rare event, and it turns out that basically none of the people in charge took it seriously. I mean, if you've been a regular viewer of this channel, you probably aren't shocked by that at all. It's basically just standard, usual shit. Ted Cruz, one of the hoity-toity top officials in Texas, decided to take his own little fucking cruise across the ocean and went to Cancun or some other place like that because he felt that he was too special and too good for the rest of the people that had to sit there without power and heat and basically suffering. He thought, you know what, fuck all you people. I may represent you, but I don't need to I don't need to sit in the same kind of squalor as you do. So he fucked off and went to another place, took his whole family with him. Obviously, people were pretty upset about it and took to Twitter. So a lot of people were upset about this. They took to Twitter, raked Ted Cruz across the coals like they should have, and he ended up being forced to come back to Texas, though I wouldn't be surprised if he just did the same thing that the mayor from The Simpsons did, where he was standing in front of a fake background, and actually he was just standing on a beach wearing shorts. I'm not good at painting pictures. Anyway, so nobody in government was taking this seriously, and as capitalism usually does, supply shortages started happening in a big way. I seen grocery stores that had entire, I believe it was meat aisles, completely wiped clean. Again, tissue paper, toilet paper products, all of those were gone. Massive shortages on all sorts of supplies in grocery stores and as well as in hardware stores. Obviously, a lot of people were trying to find heat sources, so all of the space heaters were bought up immediately, and a lot of people even found that their pipes were exploding because the ice was freezing their pipes. So they were going out and buying something called heat tape, which is basically a type of tape that has an electric current that runs through it, very similar to a heating blanket that you actually wrap around a pipe, and it keeps it from freezing. Not a lot of people even know about them, but even those were being bought up by everybody immediately. And it was basically the same thing that happened at the beginning of COVID all over again, where there were no stockpiles of any emergency supplies. No equipment was around to deal with a situation that is likely to happen. So these winter storms, yes, they are very, very rare, but it's not like they never happen. Many places winterize their equipment, and they have a lot of measures that they take to make sure that none of their equipment gets destroyed in the middle of winter, and they also stockpile a lot of other supplies to make sure that people aren't going without heat or without food or without proper clothing or that sort of thing when this sort of event happens. But because the United States is the poster child for capitalist inefficiency, they decided to do none of those things, and just like they didn't have a proper supply of ventilators, masks, gowns, and other PPE during the beginning of COVID, they also didn't have a proper supply of any of the equipment needed for people to actually not freeze to death in a fucking winter storm. It's outrageous. The United States is one of the richest, most powerful nations on the face of the entire earth. It has more wealth than any other country in all of history. And yet somehow it's not able to take care of its own people when things that predictably will happen end up happening. Diseases, weather events, all of these things have been predicted over and over and over again. In fact, scientists have even been saying for decades now that these sorts of events are going to happen more frequently unless we stop global catastrophic climate change. Something that global capitalist hegemony has decided isn't a bad thing, and they want to continue making things fucking worse while selling us plastic straws as if that's going to solve the issue. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting off on a bit of a rant here, but the problem is that when you live in a society that doesn't care about the people, of course there are going to be weather events and health catastrophes that result in immense death, because the priority isn't caring about the people. The priority is buying more shit or selling whatever the fuck they think is going to actually make them the most money. Funko Pops and fucking Barbie dolls are a higher priority in capitalism than space heaters and making sure that people's houses don't fall apart in the middle of a storm. This exact thing happens every time there's a catastrophe. This happened during Katrina. This happened during the Flint water crisis. This happened every time. Every single time, and it's happening now. Some of it is disaster capitalism. The second that there's some sort of disaster, capitalists find ways to profit off of it. So you're going to see goods that people would usually be able to get for very cheap, like water, masks, in this case, space heaters. Now you're going to see an immense price hike on all of those things, because instead of supplying them to the people for free or, to people who need them, they're supplied to the people who can pay the most for them. So scalpers will run out and buy the most of anything and then sell it to you at a high premium. You can see the same thing with PlayStations or Xboxes or literally anything. Water in a desert. If they could make it $1,000 a bottle and charge you that if you were fucking dying of thirst, they absolutely would. I seen a tweet earlier today outlining this situation, and I actually think it's perfect, and I'm going to read it to you here. It says, "This is Texas in 2020. Everything the rich say about the failures of socialism happen under capitalism, only worse. We have no health care, no guaranteed housing, no guaranteed employment. They point to bread lines as a sign of failure, while 50 million Americans face hunger without even the option of a bread line." And I think that's really true. At least in socialist countries, they kind of spread out the poverty, if you know what I mean. If people needed food, then they would be able to get that food for free or nearly free. While in capitalist countries, you either have enough money to buy the things that they hiked up the price of, or you die. There's really no middle ground there. And already, a number of people have passed away, and I think that that's absolutely horrible. The numbers continue to increase, and of course they would, because there is nothing there to actually make sure that these people are okay. There's no infrastructure to make sure that a lot of these people aren't facing some sort of situation where they do die. I've even heard of situations where people actually had backup generators and they're trying to use that to survive, but they weren't able to run the heat and their oxygen machine at the same time because, they had to be on oxygen. They were disabled in some way. And they passed away because they had to choose. In a civilized system, we would never have to worry about a situation like that. In a fair society, we would never have to think that people were going to care more about making profits out of one another than taking care of each other. And that's why we have to work right now to make sure that we're building the dual power structures needed to not have to rely on the system that inherently doesn't care about us to help us. And with that being said, I am going to tell you that yes, there was disaster capitalism in this event, but there was also disaster socialism. Tons and tons of mutual aid networks and groups have started to form. Others that have been doing other work previously have changed their goals and have set out to help people. And I'm going to leave a link in the description box below, and also in the pinned comment in the top of the comment section, with a link to a bunch of mutual aid resources that you can use if you're in the Texas area or in the southern United States. And hopefully you'll be able to find a mutual aid network or group that can help you out down there, because we have to help us, because nobody else is coming to save us. So with all of that being said, thank you very much for watching. My heart goes out to every single person that's out there in Texas. If there's anything that I can do to help you, please, please, please let me know. You can drop me a DM on Twitter, or you can even leave your Cash App or Venmo, whatever website you use to get money or donations. Please leave that as a tweet in the thread of tweets that I'm going to link as well in the description and in the pinned comment at the top of this video. That way you have the opportunity to share that link with a lot of other people. Unfortunately, with the YouTube algorithm, you cannot leave links in a comment section. It will just erase the comment. So if you want to leave a comment on the pinned comment that I have at the top of the video, do that. And you can also say, hey, I am in need in this way, or I can help in this way. And hopefully you'll be able to start a conversation with people that are in that comment thread and find out ways that you can help each other from there. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. My name is Aaron. Please help out all of the people down there. It's really, really important, and have a nice day.